Not everybody who smiles at you has love in their heart. Not everybody who walks beside you wants to see you win. Some people, they walk around with mirrors in their hands, but they don't look into them. They hold them up to reflect your pain, but never see their own. You ever watch somebody walk through life like they own every room they enter? Chin up, back straight, smooth words like velvet, but something about them just don't sit right? You ever see a person who seems full, but when they speak, there's no soul behind it? That's the illusion. That's the mask. And for a narcissist, that mask is everything. It's not just something they wear, it's who they believe they have to be to survive. See, a narcissist doesn't build a legacy, they build an image. An image, that's fragile. Legacy is built through service, through love, through sacrifice. But image, that's built on manipulation, on performance, on stepping over others and calling it leadership. They don't lead with truth. They lead with control. And to keep that control, they will twist, they will wound, and they will discard anyone who threatens the fantasy they've created. That mask, they spend years perfecting it. It's charming, it's polished, it's magnetic. But what you need to understand is this: behind it, there's nothing solid, no real self, no anchored identity, just fear dressed up as confidence, just emptiness covered by ego. And they protect that mask like it's sacred, because if it cracks, if the truth shows, they're terrified the whole world will see what they've been hiding all along: insecurity, inadequacy, shame. So when a narcissist hurts you, it's not always because of something you did, it's often because of something you are. You carry authenticity, you carry warmth, you carry depth, and that threatens the lie they've been living. Your truth exposes their illusion. Your self-respect challenges their manipulation. And because they can't control what they don't understand, they turn on you, not because you were wrong, but because you were real. And when they discard you or belittle you or betray you, it ain't about closure. It ain't about logic. It's about power. It's about preserving the mask. Because if they accept responsibility, if they admit they were wrong, the mask slips. And to a narcissist, slipping that mask feels like death. Accountability isn't in their vocabulary, because that would mean looking in the mirror. And baby, that mirror's been covered in dust for years. But here's what nobody tells you. The regret they carry is real. Oh, they might not show it, they might not say it, but late at night, when the applause dies down, when the crowd's gone and the mirror's clean again, they see the faces of the ones they hurt. They remember what they had. They remember how deeply you cared, how selflessly you gave, how you offered truth in a world that rewards lies. And even if they never say it out loud, there is a part of them, a quiet, buried part, that knows they lost something real while trying to protect something fake. But don't wait for them to admit it. Don't chase closure from people who are still chasing their own identity. The truth is, a narcissist can't build legacy because they don't build with others, they build over others. And buildings like that, they don't last. So while they're out there polishing the same old mask, switching out the cast in their performance, trying to rewrite the story to make themselves the hero, you focus on healing, you focus on truth, you focus on building something real. Because when the show is over and the crowd gets tired of the act and the mask finally cracks under the weight of time and repetition, there you'll be whole, strong, rooted in truth. And that's the difference. They might have had the spotlight, but you'll have the legacy because you didn't fake it. You didn't wear a mask. You took the pain and turned it into purpose. You took the lesson and made it into wisdom. You chose healing even when it hurt. And if you're still feeling broken, if you're still trying to understand why they did what they did, listen closely. They hurt you not because you were weak, but because you were strong enough to love someone who didn't know how to receive it. And in the end, that's what haunts them. That's the secret regret they carry. Not just losing you, but never being the kind of person who could keep you. So when they think of you, and trust me, they do, it's not with laughter. It's with the silent question they can't shake. What if I hadn't ruined it? They'll never ask you that out loud, but they'll feel it. And that's enough. Because you didn't lose. You learned. You grew. You took the high road. You let go. And you became someone who doesn't need a mask. Because the truth of who you are is powerful enough. You know, there's something funny about betrayal. Not funny in the way that makes you laugh, but funny in the way life sets up consequences that most people never see coming. Betrayal doesn't just break the person it's aimed at. It doesn't just leave scars on the one who's been hurt. It also leaves fingerprints on the betrayer, invisible ones, silent ones. And for the narcissist, every time they betray someone, they think they've won. But what they don't see, what they can't see, is that they're building something with every act of cruelty. Not a castle, not a throne, but a prison. See, a narcissist lives in a cycle of charm, manipulation, control, and destruction. They enter relationships not to connect, but to consume. And when they've gotten what they want, your love, your energy, your admiration, they toss you aside like a toy that's outlived its use. And they do it so smoothly, like it's just another Tuesday. But make no mistake, what they leave behind isn't just damage in you, it's damage in themselves. Because every betrayal, that's a brick. The first time they lied to someone who trusted them, that was a brick. The time they ghosted someone who cared, that was another. The time they twisted a story, blamed someone else, walked away without a shred of guilt. Brick, brick, brick. They think they're building freedom. They think walking away from consequences makes them powerful. But over time, those bricks start forming walls, thick, cold, silent walls. And one day they wake up surrounded, and they can't figure out why they feel so alone, why the smiles don't feel real, why the room gets quiet when they enter, why the mirror starts looking unfamiliar. They're not free. They're trapped. And here's the truth. Narcissists aren't as fearless as they pretend to be. No, they fear intimacy. They fear vulnerability. They fear being seen for who they really are. And that fear drives them to betray, to sabotage anything that gets too real. Because realness demands responsibility. It demands presence. And they'd rather run than face what's inside. So they hurt you. And maybe they thought you'd chase them. Maybe they expected you to beg, to break, to blame yourself. But even if you did for a moment, you grew. You realized the pain they gave you was a reflection of their own brokenness, not your worth. You stood up, you started healing, and the moment you stopped playing their game, that was the beginning of your freedom. But them, they just kept laying bricks. Now, understand this. They might be surrounded by people, they might have a crowd, but none of those people know the real them, because the real them is buried under layers of manipulation and ego. They keep everyone at a distance, smiling in public, crying in silence. They tell the same stories to new faces, pretending it's the first time. And every time they betray someone new, it feels like power in the moment, but it's another brick in the walls of isolation. And here's the catch. The narcissist doesn't realize what they've built until it's too late, until they reach out and there's no one left to call, until they look back and all they see are broken bridges, until they remember the one who truly loved them, who saw them, who stayed and realized they can't go back, not because you're angry, but because you've outgrown the space they tried to keep you in. That's the regret they live with, not just losing people, but never learning how to keep them, not just betraying trust, but being incapable of building it again. And that regret doesn't scream, it doesn't cry, it sits, it haunts, it waits in the quiet moments, in the spaces between applause, in the silence after the text that never comes back. And the most tragic part? They don't even know how to tear the walls down. Because tearing them down means facing every lie, every manipulation, every mask. And for them, that's too much. So they stay in the prison they built with their own hands, pretending they're still kings. But kings with no kingdom are just men hiding behind thrones. So while they keep building, you keep healing. While they keep pretending, you keep evolving. Because you are not the prison they tried to put you in. You are not the pain they handed you. You are not the victim of their cycle. You are the breaker of it. And every step you take toward your healing, every boundary you draw, every ounce of peace you protect, that's another reminder that they didn't destroy you. They built their own cage and you walked free. You know, healing is a strange thing. It's not loud, doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes healing is just waking up and not reaching for your phone to check if they texted. Sometimes it's walking past a place that used to remind you of them and not feeling that tightness in your chest anymore. It's subtle, quiet, but powerful. And what most people don't realize is this: your healing, that peace you're building, brick by brick, it doesn't just free you, it haunts the person who hurt you, especially a narcissist. Because see, narcissists live off control. That's their oxygen. The more they can keep you stuck, spinning, second-guessing yourself, the more powerful they feel. They feed off your confusion, your pain, your need for answers. But when you stop needing that, when you stop reacting, you start choosing peace over closure, healing over revenge. That shakes their foundation because they thought they had a permanent seat in your head. They thought they were unforgettable. They believed they could wound you and walk away with your spirit too. But then something happened. You stopped checking their page. You stopped replaying the arguments. You stopped trying to figure out why someone so broken made you feel like you were the problem. And that silence, that stillness, that new light in your eyes, that's not just healing, That's power. Now, here's what makes it hard for a narcissist. You're not supposed to heal without them. You're supposed to need their validation. You're supposed to need their apology. But when you heal without ever getting those things, you break the rules they live by. You step outside their control. You do what they can't. You grow. Because narcissists don't really grow. They perform. They adapt. They mimic healing, mimic self-awareness, but it's all a part of the mask. They'll talk about change, but when the lights go out, they're still the same person. Still running from the truth, still stuck in cycles they blame on everybody else. So when they see you healing, truly healing, without pretending, without playing games, without needing them, it messes with them. Because your healing exposes their stagnation. Your growth exposes their emotional immaturity. Your peace reveals their chaos. They may never say it out loud. Oh, they'll act like they don't care. They'll post pictures, new people, fake smiles. They'll make it look like they're living their best life. But trust me, your healing echoes in their silence, in their quiet moments. When the distractions wear off and they're alone with themselves, they feel it. That sinking feeling, that's not boredom. That's regret. That's realization. They lost access to your energy, your love, your truth, not because you punished them, but because you outgrew them. And here's what's powerful. Healing isn't even about proving anything. It's not about revenge. It's not about showing them what they missed out on. That's too small for you now. You're walking in a bigger purpose. You're focused on becoming whole, not just looking healed. You're breaking generational patterns. You're learning how to love yourself the way you once begged someone else to love you. That's divine work. That's soul work. But the irony, that kind of growth, the deep, authentic kind, it haunts the narcissist more than your anger ever could. Because anger means they still have space in your heart. But indifference, healing, wholeness, that's what unsettles them, because now they can't reach you. Not with guilt, not with charm, not with manipulation. You're gone, not just physically, emotionally, spiritually. You closed the door they thought would always stay open. And here's something else you need to hear. It's okay if healing hasn't been perfect. It's okay if you still have rough days. Healing isn't a straight road, it's a mountain climb. But every time you choose not to break, every time you sit with the pain instead of running back to what hurt you, every time you choose you over chaos, that's victory. And they feel it. They feel the space you used to fill with your care, your presence, your light. They feel the absence of your softness, your loyalty, your forgiveness. They don't say it, but they feel it. That's the secret regret. Not just losing you, but realizing they never deserved you in the first place. And now they know they can't get you back, not because you're holding a grudge, but because you're finally holding your standards. So keep rising, keep healing, keep choosing peace over performance, because every time you move forward without looking back, you remind them of what they lost, and you remind yourself of everything you've gained. They thought they broke you, but you became whole. And that right there, that's the part they never saw coming. You ever notice how some people don't come back because they miss you? They come back because they miss controlling you? Yeah. That's the part most folks don't talk about. When it comes to narcissists, it's not about love. It's not about connection. It's not even about you. It's about the grip they had on you, the way they could bend your spirit, twist your thoughts, make you question your own reflection. See, narcissists don't form relationships. They form contracts, silent ones, invisible ones. The terms? You give, they take. You bend, they break. You explain, they invalidate. And if you ever push back, ever ask for fairness, ever grow too strong for their games, they don't adjust. They retaliate. Because at the core of every narcissist isn't confidence, it's fear. Fear of being irrelevant, fear of being powerless, fear of being exposed. And when you start to wake up, when you start to pull away, speak truth, reclaim your worth, they don't mourn the love. They mourn the power they had over you, because that power made them feel alive. It fed their ego. And when you took it back, they felt empty. Now, they'll never say that. They'll tell themselves you were dramatic, that you overreacted, that you were too sensitive. But behind that mask of pride, there's panic, because control is how they define love. And without control, they feel invisible, forgotten. So their regret, it isn't laced with nostalgia, it's laced with ego. They don't sit in silence thinking, I miss their soul. They sit in silence thinking, how did I lose my grip? That's the part that haunts them, because they remember how you used to answer on the first ring, how you used to explain yourself over and over, hoping they'd understand, how you used to shrink yourself to make peace with their chaos, that obedience, that loyalty. That was their fuel. And when it stopped, their world shifted. Now, some people think that kind of regret is love. It's not. Let's be clear. Regret is not always rooted in love. Sometimes it's rooted in entitlement, in possessiveness, in the fear of losing control over the one person they were sure would never walk away. Because a narcissist doesn't fear being alone. They fear losing the audience to their performance. You stopped clapping. You stopped showing up to the show. And that's what they regret. Now, here's where the healing comes in. You have to understand this truth. Just because someone regrets losing control over you does not mean you lost something valuable. It means you became valuable to yourself. It means you disrupted the cycle. It means you started thinking for yourself, feeling for yourself, and they didn't expect that. Because narcissists don't believe you'll ever leave. They just believe you'll break and come crawling back. But when you didn't beg, didn't chase, didn't react, that wasn't silence to them. That was war. Because in their world, silence from someone they once controlled feels like punishment. They read into it, obsess over it. They check your pages not because they care, but because they need to know if you're still in orbit. And when they see that you're smiling, thriving, posting about peace, building new habits, making new connections, that eats at them. Not because they want you back, but because you're supposed to be broken without them. That was the lie they told themselves. But the truth is you were only broken when you were with them. You started healing the moment you stepped away from their chaos. Now, don't let guilt drag you back into a place you had to crawl your way out of. Don't confuse their regret for responsibility. Regret is passive, healing is active, and unless they've done the work, the hard, honest, lonely work of facing themselves, what they're feeling isn't remorse, it's withdrawal. A narcissist doesn't miss you, they miss the control. So stand tall, stand firm, reclaim your power every single day, because their regret is not your responsibility. You don't need to go back and teach them what they should have learned when they had you. You don't need to shrink yourself to fit their narrative. You don't need to water down your healing to make them feel comfortable in their dysfunction. You're free now, not just from their control, but from the illusion that their love was love at all. Because real love doesn't demand control. It doesn't use guilt as a leash. It doesn't leave you walking on eggshells just to keep the peace. Real love liberates. It sees you. It honors you. It protects you. So keep walking, keep building, keep healing, because every step you take away from their control is another reminder to them and to yourself that you were never the one who lost. You were the one who broke free. People confuse silence with peace far too often. But silence can be cold, sharp, empty. It can feel like standing in the middle of a quiet battlefield after the smoke clears. No explosions, no yelling, just the weight of everything that wasn't said. When a narcissist goes silent, it's not because they've found peace. It's not because they've matured or healed. It's not growth, it's strategy. That silence you're hearing, that's punishment. See, narcissists don't fight fair. They don't resolve. They don't seek understanding. Their silence isn't the absence of conflict. It's another form of control. Because nothing cuts deeper than being ignored by someone you once gave your whole heart to. That silence, that sudden absence, it's meant to make you question yourself. Meant to leave you spinning in confusion, meant to make you wonder, what did I do wrong? That's the trap. They don't storm out, they fade, disappear. And just when you start to feel the ache of their absence, they drop breadcrumbs, just enough to keep you tethered. A like on your post, a random message, a vague update through a mutual friend, nothing solid, nothing you can hold on to. And that's the point. They want you to stay uncertain, unsure, off balance, because uncertainty keeps you reaching. They don't want peace, they want power, and silence for them is the most passive-aggressive weapon in the book. When they withhold words, affection, validation, it's not because they have nothing to say. It's because they want you to suffer in the not knowing. They want you to chase, to apologize, to beg for a conversation that should have never been withheld in the first place. And the hardest part, you start blaming yourself. You replay everything, every conversation, every message, looking for the moment things shifted, thinking maybe you were too much, too emotional, too intense. But here's the truth. It was never about your intensity. It was about their inability to handle someone who felt things deeply and honestly that threatened them. So instead of rising to meet you, they fell silent to lower you, because silence makes them look composed, mature, unbothered. But behind that silence, oh, there's noise, there's chaos, there's fear. They're hoping you'll crack first. They're hoping your discomfort will drive you to reach out. Again, to explain, to prove your worth. Because if you do, it confirms to them they still have power over your emotions, that their absence can still move you more than their presence ever did. But when you don't reach, when you sit in the silence and choose to find yourself instead of chasing them, that silence turns on them, because now they're not in control of the narrative. Now you're not reacting. Now you're doing the one thing they fear most, healing without them. That silence becomes a mirror, a place where they have to sit with themselves. And that's the one person they can't manipulate. So they spin stories in their heads. They tell themselves you're cold, that you never really cared, that you've changed. But deep down they know. They know you gave them every chance. You gave them access to your heart, your loyalty, your soul, and they played games with it. So now they use silence not to build peace, but to punish you for growing beyond them. Let me tell you something. Silence doesn't always mean serenity. And in the hands of the wrong person, silence is a blade, cutting through connection, through trust, through sanity. So don't romanticize it. Don't chase someone who weaponized silence to escape accountability. Peace isn't the absence of sound. Peace is the presence of truth, of honor, of communication. The kind of silence that helps you grow is the one you choose, the kind where you step back to reflect, to protect your peace. But when someone else enforces silence to make you beg, that's emotional warfare. And you don't need to fight in that war anymore. You don't need to respond to every silence with a message. You don't need to match their quiet with confusion. You don't need to break yourself to fix what they refuse to face. Their silence is not your responsibility. It's their reflection. So reclaim yours. Fill that silence with healing. Fill it with purpose. Fill it with everything they tried to make you forget about yourself. Because when they realize their silence no longer controls your mood, your decisions, your value, they lose, not because they didn't speak, but because they never had the words that mattered. And you finally stopped waiting to hear them. Let me tell you something real, something they don't expect you to understand. The narcissist doesn't walk away whole. They don't walk away proud. They walk away haunted. Haunted by the control they lost, by the power you reclaimed, by the silence that now speaks louder in your absence than your presence ever did. See, their greatest regret isn't losing your love. It's losing the grip they had on your mind, your heart, your identity. Because while they were playing games, you were growing. While they were manipulating truth, you were learning how to stand in it. While they thought you'd break, you were building something unshakable. They carry that regret silently. They'll never post about it. They'll never admit it, but it follows them. It lingers in every failed connection that doesn't measure up to the energy you brought. It echoes in the laughter they don't hear anymore. It stings when they realize your healing was louder than their silence could ever be. You see, healing isn't just about feeling better. It's about remembering who you are without their influence. It's about rising without applause, loving without approval, walking forward without looking back. And that is your power. So don't ever let their silence rewrite your truth. Don't ever let their regret confuse your growth. You didn't lose something when they left. They did. They lost someone who would have fought beside them, grown with them, built something sacred with them, and they traded it for ego, for control, for illusion. But you gained clarity, you gained freedom, you gained yourself, and that's the kind of peace no narcissist can ever take back. So walk on, stand tall, and let your life speak the one truth they never expected to hear. You didn't just survive them, you outgrew them.